Good evening and thank you for keeping it TV47. My name is Linda Alela. It is time for TV47 Weekend Edition and by extension her say, where as always we get to engage ladies that are doing tremendous in their specific fields. And of course tonight is not an exception. Yes, we'll be having one Anne Waki, who will be our guest tonight as she shares her journey walking up through this level where she is now helping SMEs, helping businesses to brand themselves and to grow themselves to be, amongst the best in the world. And of course, as she gets to, enlighten us on this, she will definitely as well share her story. She tells you just how best you can prepare yourself for Christmas if you are a business person, if you're in the SME world, just so you remain relevant even as we look forward to 2025. As we get to that conversation, before we get to that conversation as well, it's always my pleasure to let you know what is in the world of news, and that's what we'll begin with. And here are the highlights. Tonight, several families affected by floods in some villages of Kisumu as government promises measures to address the situation.
Ni ugonjwa. Cha pili ni chakula. Cha tatu ni kuhama kila mara. Cha nne ni kupoteza vivugo zetu.
Ncheke elders denounced the recently formed Gikuyu, Embu, Meru, Akamba Association.
We are not a political party.
Also tonight, President Ruto says Kenya's AUC candidate Raila Odinga is the best fit for the job.
We have a solid candidate, a man with tremendous experience.
The Kaputei section of the Maasai community have initiated a new unique anti-retrogressive culture age set aimed at maintaining culture among boys in school. On the sign language interpreter's desk is Rhoda Nyamai, and we get straight to it, where flood victims in Kisumu County, especially in Ahero and Ombaka areas, are calling on the government to make efforts to intervene the frequent flooding in the area, even as rainy seasons begin. Sheila Chelangat reports of their plight for a dam to be constructed in the area, even as government says that the project to have a dam constructed in the area has stalled due to financial constraints.
Tukitokanga kwa manyumba saa zingine maji imefika hapa na tuko na watoto. Sasa tumengoja hii serikali tumechoka kulia serikali.
It is the cry of residents in Oketha Panadol area in Ahero, Kisumu County after the heavy rains recently forced them out of their homes. Everything gone with the flood waters, but the situation is not new to them.
Kuna mang'ombe ambayo ilienda na maji. Kuna kuku ambayo ilienda na maji. Hata vifaa za nyumba alienda, vyombo za nyumba alienda na maji. Kwa maana hii maji ikiingia huwa anaingia saa 8 usiku. Na hii tatizo tumekasa kuwa naye sasa ni miaka 6.
And they feel forgotten as their hope of having a dam constructed continues to dim. The government had started the Korusoin Dam project. However, it has stalled due to financial constraints. The project required at least 19 billion shillings for its completion, according to Water CS Eric Muga.
Wewe ukilala usiku unasikia maji ndio hiyo. Unaamuka unatoroka na watoto. Sasa sisi tutatembea kwa maji mpaka lini?
Residents in the Umbaka area, a few kilometers from Ahero, are in a similar situation. The recent floodings has left them with nothing.
Sisi iko na watoto na watu wakuu na kina mama iko na miba. Sasa sisi naomba dawa ya taesa saidia sisi hapa.
The Lake region has been one of the regions that have experienced isolated flooding, and as of last week, the National Disaster Operations Center noted that they had begun evacuating over 240 households affected by the floods.
And we have visited the area, and some of the previous dikes have actually broken because of this huge water overflow. But, the camps, we are going to look out for them.
But for the residents here, evacuation is not a long-lasting solution.
Maji kikuja ni hapa kwetu. Zile vitu uko nayo vizuri zinaharibika, yote unatupa. Sasa tunaona ati sisi tunateseka sana, hata kama umekaa ukiama utaama paka wapi?
Their only hope lies on the construction of dikes along the Nyando River to end this flooding that has become a menace to them. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Now, President William Ruto has urged the East African Community EAC to collectively support former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's candidature for the chairmanship of the African Union Commission, AUC. The president highlighted Odinga's extensive experience, dedication to Pan-African ideals, and commitment to promoting regional integration, while emphasizing that these qualities make him an exceptional candidate to lead the African Union Commission. Ruga Ival with that.
President William Ruto has once again rallied support for Raila Odinga's bid for the African Union Commission chairmanship, scheduled for February the year 2025. Speaking during the official opening of the 14th Interparliamentary Games in Mombasa County, Ruto drummed up support for Odinga, terming him as the best fit for the job.
And in our midst, we have a solid candidate, a man with tremendous experience, a Pan-Africanist who can take this continent to the next level. I ask you as East Africans that we stand united behind the candidature of our former Prime Minister, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga.
Odinga has been actively campaigning across various African nations for several months, with his most recent visit being to Eritrea, where he met with President Ismail Gwele. The trip followed his engagements in West Africa, where he promoted his manifesto as the best fit for the AUC chairmanship.
This time round, it is the opportunity for East Africa to produce the chair of the Africa Union.
Next week, Odinga is expected to present his case to 54 heads of state during a televised debate titled Mjadala Africa, which will be moderated by distinguished African Union officials. This event is set to take place in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia on December the 13th. Odinga's main competitors for the position include Djibouti's Foreign Minister Mahmoud Ali Yusuf and Richard Randriamandrato, the former Foreign Affairs Minister from Madagascar. As he prepares for this crucial debate, Odinga aims to convince African leaders why he is the best choice for the AUC chairmanship. His campaign itinerary includes stops in various West African countries, particularly those that are members of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. This month, he is expected to meet the following countries' head of state: Chad and Central African Republic, CAR. Ruga Ival, TV47.
Well, all the best to the former premier. Now, a section of Meru elders drawn from the Council of Mchurin Cheke have denounced themselves from the recent political formation under the Gema community, bringing together the Gikuyu, Embu, Meru and Akamba communities. The elders argue that Gema is not a political movement, as Paul Kirubi details.
A section of Meru elders from the Council of Mchurin Cheke have denounced themselves from the recent expansion of the Gema Association to include the Gikuyu, Embu, Meru and Akamba communities. Addressing the media in Meru, they have termed the Nairobi meeting of Gema leaders and media utterances to register for Gema political movement an ill move against the original meaning of Gema among the community members.
Hatuhusiki na mambo ya chama. We are not a political party, neither a political movement. Kwa hivyo mambo ya Gema hatuyaungi mkono hata kidogo.
The elders have maintained that Mchurin Cheke stands by the ruling government since colonial times, and thus any formation of rebel the government is against their rules. They were speaking at Ncheru Shrine, which is the headquarters of Mchurin Cheke, where key decisions are being made.
Hiyo maneno iliongewa kwa hoteli kwa nini? Na nataka kuambia Kenya yetu na watu wetu wa Meru ya kwamba the decision series inatengenezwa ya Njuri, inatengenezwa hapa tuko Ncheru.
Hii mambo ya kuandikisha na pesa, hiyo siwi imetoka wapi? Kwa hivyo tunaomba yule ambaye ako na hayo mawazo haye kwetu, tuketi naye na wasee wale ambao wanajua Gema ni nini, tukubaliane ya kwamba tutaendelea namna hiyo ama hapana. Lakini sio uende uketi kwa hoteli upange mambo yako kuhusu Gema. We will not allow that.
Paul Kirubi, TV47, Nairobi.
Mining Cabinet Secretary Hassan Joho has emerged as the best performing Cabinet Secretary with a score rating of 67.3% in the last 100 days of President William Ruto's broad-based government. According to a new opinion poll by polling firm Polytrack, Environment CS Aiden Duale takes the second slot with 62.1%, while Tourism CS Rebecca Miano takes the third slot with 62%. Others in the top 10 are CS Opiyo Wandayi, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, John Mbadi, Alice Wahome, Deborah Barasa, Kipchumba Murkomen, and Salim Mvurya. The CS's ratings were based on support to prosper or to proper and effective government decision-making, support to effective implementation of government priorities, and maintenance of an impartial and confident civil service.
They would suggest that the option to create the broad-based alternative by the executive is a promising thing or something that is perceived in a positive nature, particularly by the Kenyan people. Since for all the cabinet secretaries, they had a rating of above 50%, meaning there is some level of satisfaction from the people. And also there is that room that they have left out that there could be something that they would be contributing, particularly in being able to create that necessary confidence in the government from the people's perspective.
Congratulations to the top performers. Marriage in Pokot community is not just a union of two individuals, but a bond between families and clans, often sealed with traditional rites and the exchange of cattle. Tonight, we tell you of polygamy marriage in the Pokot community, where the first wife plays an important role of ensuring that the husband gets a second wife, and no jealousy or conflict in such kind of a polygamous union that is witnessed. Now, this story was produced by TV47's Andre Juma from West Pokot.
In the rolling hills of Kenya's West Pokot County, where the wind carries songs of tradition and whispers of the past, the Pokot people stand out for their vibrant and unique culture. We arrive in Songok village along the West Pokot and Turkana counties border, where marriage is not just a union of two individuals, but a bond between families and clans, often sealed with traditional rites and the exchange of cattle. We meet Mikale Lekwanyang, a respected elder who is married to 3 wives. His marriage speaks volume of how polygamy can thrive when rooted in love and understanding. Lekwanyang, a 49-year-old elder and a father of 17 children, speaks with pride about the harmony in his family, describing his wife as the pillars of his life.
Mimi iko na mali, iko na ng'ombe na mbuzi. Akataka hawezi kutosha bibi moja, hawezi kujua kuchunga. Akataka kuoa bibi ngine, alafu mimi iko na mali, mimi iko na mbuzi na ng'ombe. Sasa tini akataka pome yangu kukaa mali moja, akakataa kukawakawa, ngine iko mlema, ngine iko wapi.
Remarkably, Lekwanyang's first wife, Rose Chepkana, played a central role in expanding the family. Not only did she support her husband's decision to marry additional wives, but she personally contributed to the dowry of the second and third wives.
Amekaa na bibi yangu mali moja. Hakuna mtu kukusana mwingine. Sasa sini bibi yangu amekaa kwa roho mzuri. Sasa ameoa bibi yangu ni kubwa. Amechunga mali mpaka amekuwa wengi. Ameenda kuomba ngine na ameenda pamoja na bibi yangu. Ameenda na bibi yangu ya kwanza mpaka amepeka pei ya ng'ombe ya mbuzi. Sasa akasanya siku moja na bibi yangu ya kwanza, akapepa kwa mwingine. akapeana ng'ombe, akapeana mbuzi, akapatia mimi bibi yangu ya mbili.
To ensure fairness and unity, Lekwanyang spends his time equally among his wives, spending 2 nights in each home before moving to the next, saying none of his wives feel neglected.
Amependa yote. Amelala siku moja, kwa mangine siku mbili, sini amelala siku ngine ya.
Sasa tuseme nyinyi hamna wivu?
Hakuna. Hakuna.
Hebu tueleze sisi
tunaishana pamoja tu,
hakuna wivu, hakuna nini,
hakuna kitu chochote, tunapendana tu. Kwa sababu mngesema mama kuja hata mbuzi, nachukua vimbe yangu naenda mbuzi yangu. Haya mama fulani nenda ng'ombe, yeye nachukua yake inaenda sasa ng'ombe yake. Hakuna wivu. Kwa sababu huku ni teke hakuna mtu kisha yake Turkana kunyang'anya mbuzi. Sasa inawachaje sasa?
In the Pokot tradition, wives live in separate houses within the same compound, often supporting one another in their daily tasks and parenting. The Pokot culture assigns the responsibility of building houses to women, a tradition that fosters a sense of ownership. When a man marries a new wife, it is the duty of the existing wives to construct her house.
Pokot hawataki tabia ambazo watoto wengi wanabaki nyumbani kuwa watangatangaji ama koa. Saa zingine wenye wanakuwa kitoto kiruka njia. Sasa hiyo ndio desturi Pokot inafanya wanawao saa zingine pia wanawake wengi kwa ajili ya kupunguza watoto kuhangaika na kukosa boma na kukosa bwana.
For the Pokot people, polygamy is not just a cultural practice, it is a way of life that exemplifies harmony and resilience in a changing world.
Well, what beauty in such simplicity. Nice piece there by Andrew Juma. And speaking of marriage, it was a day full of glamour as friends and family gathered to celebrate love, commitment, and the beginning of a beautiful journey as TV47's news anchor Victor Moyakane and Fiona Kerori, whose story has captured the hearts of many from the moment they met, united in heart to say, I do. From the heartfelt vows of the joyful celebration that followed the reception, their wedding is a true testament to the power of love and the beautiful journey they are now embarking on as a married couple. The two lovebirds were joined together in a colorful wedding here in Nairobi, and that is today, as Cape Media staff, who are Victor's colleagues, did not shy away from dancing as they celebrated the two. Take a look.
Hawa vijana wanadhani nguvu imeisha, nguvu iko. Wewe kamata chini kabisa kila mtu. Haya. 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 Hey. Ndio hii hapa, ndio hii box hapa.
Well, you did not see me, but you can be sure that I was there. And congratulations to Victor Dollar Edition, as today marked the 3rd day of its 6 days tour with the Nyanza and Western regions. The TV47 and Radio 47 crew spent the better part of the day in Kakamega County, while hundreds of residents from the area have turned out to enjoy the fun and gift hampers. Violet Auba was part of the caravan and now tells us of the fun that the locals were treated to.
These were the scenes in Kakamega Town, Shianda, Mumias, Ikero, Khaega and Chavakali areas during the Cape Media Roadshow. The crew interacting with the locals ahead of the much-awaited Mzuka Festival Dala edition in Kisumu County at Mamboleo grounds. Locals could not hide their joy interacting with the renowned media personalities from TV47 and Radio 47.
Mwananchi wa kawaida ajue ya kwamba akipatwa na msiba asiuze mali yake, asiteseke ama asisumbuke kiakili ama asichukue loan. Anajiunga tu na Kupa Kenya, alafu mambo inakuwa rahisi. Kwa sababu gani? Tunajua ile mzigo yenye tunapitia na ile uzito tunapata. Kwa shilingi zako 200 unakuwa mwanachama. Kisha kila mwezi wewe peke yako ni 100, wewe na bwana wako ama bibi yako ni 150. Ukiongeza na watoto ni 200. Ukiongeza na wazazi ni 250.
Leo sikuwa nimejua kuhusu Kumba, lakini wamekuja wakanielezea, nimejua. Ukijiunga nao, ukipoteza mtu wako wanakununulia jeneza, nguo na wanakaramia kila kitu. Kwa hivyo kuanzia siku ya leo naenda kusambazia wafanyabiashara wajiunge na Kuba ili wanapopata msiba Kuba itasimama nao.
Led by Rumba legends Kofi Olomide, Zaiko Langalanga, Prince Inda, among others, Kenyans will be treated to a weekend of its kind on the 14th of December.
Na ngoja tu hiyo tarehe 14 ifike, niingie kule Kisumu, niende nione Kofi Olomide. Wanamsikia tu, lakini leo nitamuona live kwa shilingi 1000 peke yake regular, nitakuwa nimelipia na naingia pale.
Tomorrow, the caravan will head to Kisumu County. Reporting for TV47, I'm Violet Auma.
All right, as they would say, Mambo Bado, there's more to that great treatment all the way during this festive season. Maasai community in Kajiado County gathered at Oloika village to celebrate the transition of young boys to a new age set after a traditional circumcision session in a bid to embrace and preserve their culture. Samira Mohammed with the details.
The Maasai community is popularly known to preserving and celebrating their culture, and this was the case in Oloika village in Kajiado County. Community members gathered to fulfill their tradition by celebrating brave young boys who joined their peers in a new age set known as Elemetaroni in an effort to preserve their culture. The colorful ceremony characterized by the Maasai community traditional songs and dances to mark a new beginning for the young boys who were undergoing circumcision to join a new age set.
Sherehe tunaanzisha age set ambayo inaitwa Elemetaroni.
Leo ni siku ya sherehe yao. Juu tulikuwa tumefunza na leo ndio tunakuja kusherehekea mafunzo yao ndio waende watairiwe.
A special bull, also known as Pologise, is slaughtered to officially mark a new dawn for the young boys and welcome them to a new age set known as Elemetaroni. The special bull is covered with a piece of cloth to dignify the process, and the meat shared as a symbol of peace and unity among the young boys.
Ndume yenye tumechinja hapa ni yao vijana. Ni yao. Hao ndio watakula, hao ndio watakuja wakule. Tukiwaleta pamoja ni kama njia moja ya kuleta vijana pamoja. Wakuje, wakule pamoja. Hiyo ndume ni yao.
A special traditional prayer is also conducted by the elders who will oversee and guide the boys under their appointed age set.
Tukienda kuwatairi hawa vijana wangu, wanaitwa Elemetaroni. Wako shule, wanasoma na tunataka culture. Kimila ni jambo la maana sana. Hata Waswahili walisema mwacha mila ni mtumwa.
Samira Mohammed for TV47 Nairobi.
Medical interns across the country are threatening to down their tools over what they have termed as increasingly hostile working environments. Sarah Bogwa reports.
Medical interns across the country are threatening to down their tools in response to what they describe as increasingly hostile working environments. For years, they have endured long shifts under staffing and intense pressure to perform, all while receiving minimal compensation.
The first one is a hostile and unsupportive work environment. Toxic workplaces characterized by bullying, harassment, and a lack of support continue to erode morale and compromise the mental health of healthcare workers.
The World Medical Association President-elect, Dr. Jacqueline Kitulu, also stated her agenda roles for the 2025-2026 term as promoting advocacy for primary healthcare, mentoring and empowering interns, among others.
So how do we empower them? How do we mentor them? How do we get them to be the best leaders that they will need for their time?
The medical interns' plight comes months after the 56-day-long nationwide doctors' strike, which ended in May this year after KMPDU and the government signed a return-to-work formula. In a pre-internship conference that was held at the University of Nairobi, the Kenya Medical Association have cited mental health crisis, calling for regulation of working hours, among others. Reporting for TV47, I am Sarah Mbogwa.
All right, Loop Shopping Festival is a celebration of culture, flavor and shopping. It's a shopping festival that brings together merchants and buyers, enabling loopers to celebrate their love for deals. The Loop team was in various shopping malls in Nairobi today, leading up to the festive season, and customers had an opportunity to take advantage of a pool of merchants and partners servicing every sector to get the latest in tech, threads and anything in between, ensuring the jolly spirit kicks in.
On the platform and partnering with merchants to bring a lifestyle effect. We're in the festive season, and basically we're enabling our customers to get very, very good deals so that they can upgrade their lives and also be able to afford things that they've not been able to afford. As Loop, we provide a platform both accessible on Android as well as on iOS, where you can actually, do payments across various channels. You can also grow yourself. So basically we give you access to credit. We also give you access to savings. And the other thing that we do is we have a marketplace for deals. So we partner with merchants and we provide deals to our customers.
All right, and experts have raised concerns that the reading culture in the country is slowly dying, highlighting the needs for it to be revived as Kenya needs knowledgeable citizens to fuel its economy. And Samchi Group of Companies CEO Dr. Esther Wanjiru Mushemi said that time is ripe for Kenyans to shift from the culture of reading to pass exams and aim to read to add comprehension and shape one's perspective. Mushemi was speaking at the launch of her book, Springs of Water, where she urged Kenyans to be consistent with reading books and lifelong learning so as to broaden their mindset and enable them to be more knowledgeable.
I think what the young should know is that them that have been before have certain experiences, and they should aim to get that wisdom from them. And then the older generation must also be willing to listen to these young people, guide them, hold their hand, and make them better than themselves.
The creative industry, the books, the music, the arts, and the crafts, you actually enable the artists to thrive. You also give them a platform, because the more visibility they get, the more the likelihood that they will get funds even beyond Kenya, and this generates revenue for them.
Couldn't agree more. Now, winners of the Tukuza Awards will now receive scholarships from African International University to pursue programs aligned with godly values as a result of a 2-year partnership between the university and the Tukuza Awards. Speaking during the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding at the university in Karen, Tukuza Awards events manager Ronnie Masega said that the initiative shifts the focus from merely giving awards to transforming artists' lives. Dr. Florence Mungadhia, the Director of Institutional Development at the university, added that the scholarships could also benefit a close relative of the winners who are unable to take up the opportunity themselves.
Since our role is to educate and to train, then the greatest need we look for is to see how best we can impact the gospel artists so that, again, they don't just sing sometimes songs that are not doctrinary, right? So we'll be able to ensure that whatever they're singing, the doctrines are right, because our theological department is very strong on that. Then also make sure we're impacting them with the training. So for those who qualify in the events we're going to be having, we'll be glad to offer them what we call founder scholarship, and that will be 50% of the fees that they'll be paying, and that will be for 4 years. So you qualify for 4 years, you're going to stand under founder scholarship, which essentially means 50% of the school fees.
Officiate a very important partnership with the Africa International University, a partnership that will start the transformational journey, the positive transformational journey of our artists and even the ministers across the gospel industry. What we've done today is we've signed the MOU with the Africa International University, and this MOU is to give Africa International University the lead form of training, now being the lead trainer for Tukuza Awards.
All right, 30 minutes past the top of the hour. I think it's at this point that we pay some bills and we come back with sports and that important interview alongside Anne Waki, who has risen to ranks in different entities, seeing the growth of this particular entities, but of importance, passionate about ensuring that SMEs get the chance to grow across the African continent and gaining that element of sustainability. That should be coming your way after this.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy
I used to wash plants here on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Pesa ikiingia.
Sports news brought to you by Maybet. Bet bila stake. Predict the outcome of 8 pre-selected games and win up to 100,000 shillings. Only at maybet.com.
We get sporty, where the Kenya and Uganda dominated the Great Chepsaita cross-country run, which was held today at Chepsaita Secondary School in Uasin Gishu County. Tony Kwalanda witnessed the run in Chepsaita and tells us more.
Curtains fell on the Great Chepsaita Cross Country Run 2024 held today at Chepsaita Secondary School in Uasin Gishu County. 10,000 runners from 15 countries participated in the annual race with a cash prize kitty of 16 million shillings.
It's just to say to invest kwa sports sana. As waziri amesema, you can balance both athletics na pia masomo. So yangu ni machache. Thank you so much. Nimeshukuru sana na nimefurahi ku witness champion today.
Samuel Chebeloi clinched the elite men's 10-kilometer title after defeating Robert Kiprop and Matthew Kipkoech. The 10-kilometer women's top prize went to Ugandan Lois Chekomoi, who finished ahead of Shimele Smola of Ethiopia and Kenyan Celestine Biwott.
And sport brings unity. Sport brings peace. And if peace and unity is there, then we enjoy and development comes in.
Cynthia Chepkurui claimed gold in the women's under-20 6-kilometer race ahead of Yvonne Chepkosgei and Joylene Chepkomoi.
Still the world record holder in 800 meters since 2012 in London Olympics. Hakuna mtu amevunja hiyo rekodi mpaka leo.
Men's under-20 8-kilometer gold medal went to Kevin Biwott, who beat Andrew Kipto and Edwin Sinatui. Women's 70 years and over race, Catherine Jeptolo won gold, while James Ndaua lifted the trophy in the men's 70 years and over.
Wadogo mpaka wakubwa, inawahakikishia kwamba mwaka ujao mambo itakuwa moto kuliko mwaka huu.
To thank Mr. Farouk. We have similar events all over the country, but this one is unique. This one is unique because the patron is a mobilizer.
Nataka niwahakikishie msimamo wa serikali ya kupigana na wale wanauza madawa kwa wanariadha na pia kupatia watoto wetu shuleni madawa ya kulevya.
Under 7 years race, Bramwell Kimutai emerged victorious, while Faith Jerotich won the girls' event. Over 10,000 runners, of which 3,000 were elite, took part in the competition, whose theme was to run for education.
Some of the athletes who participated in the Great Chepsaita Cross Country Run 2024 were using it to prepare themselves for the National Cross Country Series. The next event will be held in Nyandarua County. Tony Kwalanda, TV47, Chepsaita, Tarbo, Uasin Gishu County.
All right, Tony loves it when it's about chip site. All the best, Tony, even as you get to enjoy the great wins of the people there, and of course beyond, the country. Like you say, there are people from Uganda and other parts of the world. So it is done with news, done with sports, and time for her say. All right, and of course, when it comes to the moments where we talk to ladies, the biggest win for us is that fact that we get ladies that we're always having here, speaking to the great strides they have made from humble beginnings, from good beginnings. It doesn't really matter, but we just get to celebrate more and more of wins, and that's exactly what we'll be doing this evening as Anne Waki is here with us. Anne Waki says that this is the main thing that she loves doing, just focusing to witness SMEs grow, not just in the country, but across the African region. And that she has done so well, both at that capacity where she is employed and she's working with an entity and she sees it grow, but at this point where she takes that space of consultancy to ensure that, the different and the numerous SMEs and numerous businesses get to benefit from her skill. Thank you so much, Anne, for creating time.
Thank you, Linda.
You look fairly young and you're taking it very fast. Why is this so?
Thank you, Linda. Yeah, so it's great being here. Thank you for hosting me.
Yeah.
And you're right that that's what I do. It's purpose for me.
All right.
It's not just a job or work, it's purpose. So it's an assignment and I love to do it. I love to see SMEs grow.
Right.
And specifically, I talk about growing them into corporations. So that's what I do on a daily basis.
On a daily basis?
Yes.
Both, in both capacities I speak, where you have been, employed in an institution and you have seen it grow. And what got you deciding to now exit the stage and literally set up your own institution, your own organization, your own consultancy firm that now turns the world?
Great. So, Linda, I was employed for, say, about 6 years and a half or thereabout. Initially, I was what they call a practice manager. Right. So a practice manager is a farm manager or a general manager in other organizations. But later, I was promoted into a chief operating officer, where I did that for about 4 years.
Right.
So as a chief operating officer, you get to do everything because you're in charge of people, that's human resource, you're in charge of finance, you're in charge of marketing, you're in charge of procurement, and the entire operations at large. So you get to do everything. So, and I also happened to work very closely with a very agile leader.
Right.
So having done that, it got to a point and I felt we have put up structures, we have put up processes in that organization I worked for. And I felt like there's nothing much I'm doing now. Actually, what was remaining is for me to approve checks, you know? Yeah, so I got to that point and said, I think it's time to transition. And at that time, we actually didn't have a consulting arm in that organization. Right. I said, I'm going to begin one. Yeah, so I started a new department from scratch, what we call management consulting. So I began meeting clients and specifically SMEs in different spaces. My first client was in the pharmaceutical space. And I loved it because when you're working as a consultant, you get to learn everything from beginning, the entire value chain. So I worked for that client and now we have implemented the strategic plan. That was in Uganda. Then I got to work for a client in FMCG, that's the food space. Then I worked for a few other clients in schools and different other industries, and it's been amazing. Now, having done that, I'll say purpose called for me to now transition to my own organization. I'll say purpose called and I answered. Yeah, so that's what has been happening since beginning of this year. So I'm running FALG Consulting Group, abbreviated as ECG.
Right.
So a management consulting firm. I now have a team of close to 10 very brilliant employees and staff members. Yes.
So you are running it in the capacity of the founder and say the CEO, the executive director?
Oh, correct. CEO.
The CEO.
Yes.
All right. So what really, and I am glad that you share your story, and sometimes really there's that desire for growth. One would tell you that perhaps, you know, coming from that space where you're employed, you almost feel like you now want to go to a bigger organization, you know, to, you know, a bigger element of the corporate world. What got you saying that, well, I'm going to set up mine, and, you know, in the world of consulting, which is fairly male-dominated, or perhaps we'd say, if you're going to get into that world, if you're a man, you are bound to, you know, you're bound to become bigger and better compared to a woman.
Great. So the first thing I'll say, Linda, is that fear is the enemy. Okay?
Right.
So in fact, I believe in competence over gender. So when they talk about male-dominated spaces, I would say it's not about that. It's actually about competence.
Right.
So one time I was talking to ladies CEOs just recently in a KEPSA forum. And when they asked me about it, I said, no, it's not a matter of gender. It's a matter of competence. And I will hire anyone at this level, so long as they are competent. So for me, overcoming fear, and especially the fear of transition, was the first thing. And so I had the conviction. So I was sure that what I want to do is open my own organization, because I remember talking to my former boss, because he tried, of course, talking to me.
Please don't go.
And I mentioned to him that, imagine if you didn't leave your previous organization, there are 100 of us would not have an employment today. So someone got to do it for sure, and someone got to take that step. And that's what I did. So I took that step. And indeed, as I said, fear has always been the enemy, because the minute I did that, there have been opportunities after opportunities, and we have organizations, when they finally realize you're competent and you are indeed able to do what you say you do. They give you these assignments, and there's so much to be done in these spaces. Yes.
All right. So today you had a webinar that you were running. What was it about, and just how successful a process was it?
Great. So today, this morning, I had a webinar on purpose and discovering one's purpose. I'm very passionate about living a purposeful life, a life of impact, both at an individual level, but also at a corporate level. So when I talk to clients and SMEs, I'll talk to them about being purpose-led organizations, but also as individuals, because I do a lot of coaching as well. I'll also talk to them about living purposeful lives, because I believe, for me, once you understand your purpose, there is impact, and there's also fulfillment. So, and because I'm in that space, I mentioned to you that what I do is purpose for me. There's so much fulfillment, whether there is a paycheck or not. There's so much fulfillment in what I do. So this morning I spoke to a group of several professionals from different industries, close to 30 of them, and they joined in, and we were talking about how do you discover your purpose. And to begin with, what is purpose? Because most people do not understand that.
And I'm curious, is it not a process that perhaps by the time you get to realize that this is your purpose, and then something else comes up, and you probably just want to blow it even further?
So everyone is actually born with a why, okay? Why you're here, why you're in this world. And one of the things we were saying is that not even AI can take over your purpose. Maybe AI can take over a job, but it cannot take over a purpose, because it's born in you. It is why you are in this world. And so we were talking about how you discover this purpose and how you actually live that purpose, because it's one thing to discover and it's another to live that purpose. So it's a long discussion, and I have it on my pages, so people could always check it out.
Okay, only 29. I mean, we probably talk about those ones that, you know, 30, under 30, and just doing wonders. Are there instances you feel like you're taking it too fast? Are there instances you feel like there are things that are lagging you behind? Are there instances that you feel like, you know what, you really are in the right spaces? And how do you get to juggle around all this different tides to just be where you are?
You asked whether there are times when I feel like I'm taking it too fast.
Very fast, you know?
Well, when I talk to clients, like I remember the very first client I met, the first thing they'll ask me is, how old are you? How do you even know what you talk about, you know? Yeah, so they feel like you're too young to even
handle the
understand,
assignment and understand it.
business and business matters and consultancy issues. So there are lots of those questions. In fact, they're the very first questions I encounter. And of course, now that I'm also a lady, so they feel like you're young and you're also a lady, you know? Yeah, so the very first client I met who has run his business for about 44 years now, in the first session, I didn't talk so much. So I allowed my team to do the introduction and all that. And one of them mentioned...
I'm curious.
Yes,
When you
yes.
talk about your team, do you have a team of persons that are even older than you or what?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah?
Since I left school, I've been leading teams that are older than me by far.
All right.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So my team did the introduction then. And after that, we left. So they said, this is our lead person in this assignment and all that. So when we came in for the next session, the children now tell me, because it's a family business, the first thing their dad said was, is that the little girl who's coming to do this assignment for us? Yeah, but the minute we did the first session, he said, no one else should handle my assignment. In fact, I now sit in their advisory board.
And you sit in like 2 advisory boards?
Correct.
How?
So the minute I worked for these clients, because both of these clients have been people I've worked for. So the minute I've worked for them, they've seen the value. Because for me, just the same way we're talking about impact in purpose, for me, value addition is very, very critical. That in whatever we're doing, is there value? So once they realize the value, they would want to have more of that. And the only way would be sitting in the advisory board. Yeah, so that's how I've gotten myself there. I sat in the first advisory board at 28 then. Yeah, and recently sat in the other advisory board. Yeah, and it's great to also learn from even people who've gone ahead of me, because in those advisory boards, I have people who are even in their 60s, in their 70s. They've retired already. So just sitting, listening to them, and it's just great.
That's great.
Yeah.
What do you attribute this growth, this understanding of your own purpose to?
Okay. So there are a couple of things, Linda. And the first thing I'll say is I allowed myself to work under leaders. So when I left school, I immediately worked under one leader who is in the consulting space. And I worked as his operations manager then. So I would literally do everything. And one of the things, again, I've learned is do your best in whatever you find to do. Yeah, so whatever you find to do, you give it your best. So I'm a believer of that strongly. And so I did that for about 1 year or so before I transitioned to my last company. And again, in my last company, I worked very closely with my boss then, the CEO. Because being the chief operating officer, you're actually the right-hand man. You're the chief of staff. So I worked very closely with them and got to learn all these things. And of course, as I helped them propel their farms to the next level. So that is one of the things. The other thing I'll talk about is continuous learning, because you have to continuously update yourself. You have to continuously know what is happening in the spaces that you're interested in, and keep learning, because learning never stops. And it's the only way to find the knowledge you're seeking. So I've continuously built my capacity, both in soft areas and also technical areas. But also the other thing I'll say, Linda, is that God has really helped me. I'm also a believer in God, because there are things I'll show up in a meeting, and there are things that sometimes I'll talk about that are not things that are taught in any school. So I would only say it's also wisdom from God.
From God.
Yes.
What are some of the notable challenges, and how do you just get to overcome them?
Okay.
You make it look so beautiful, as though there are no challenges.
Oh, really? Okay. So I think one of them is what I mentioned, the fact that most people will think, you know, you're young. In fact, the minute they see you first, before they even listen, they think, I think you're looking so young for such a position and being in such a space. So that is one of the challenges I've encountered. But I'll say how I've handled that is once you get the opportunity, now showcase what you say you do, okay?
Right.
So it's an opportunity to showcase what you're made of. And so I've used those opportunities to, of course, talk about what I do and what we're doing for businesses. And at the end of the day, as I said earlier, once these clients realize you're actually competent and you're set for this, they'll be confident. Yeah. And with time, as you do the delivery, they see the value. So that's very, very important that you can deliver on what you say you do. And indeed, you can deliver value. Yes.
I want us to treat this as though it's an elevator pitch. And,
Okay.
you know, there are people who are watching it tonight. And they could be potential clients. And they're just wondering, what is this young girl talking about?
Okay.
What is Madam C telling us, you know? And they just get to understand, or they would wish to understand, how you transform businesses and create value. I mean, what would you tell them?
Great. So when I got into the consulting space, let me just give you a background. I realized that Africa has so many ideas. In fact, every day I sit with entrepreneurs and CEOs and I'm blown, you know. There are so many ideas in the African space.
Yeah.
In fact, I feel like we should be the people exporting solutions, you know, to other countries. There are so many ideas here. But I realize there is a challenge in putting up structures, systems, and of course having clear strategies in place. So what has been happening at the end of the day, we have so many bigger players coming from these other countries to take over businesses in the African region, specifically here in Kenya. Every day I talk to entrepreneurs and they keep telling me, I was approached by a bigger player about a year ago, and they wanted to buy off my business at 10 million, at 20 million. So when I listened to these things, and you know, entrepreneurs begin businesses with a purpose, some of them with a purpose, some of them with a clear vision. And so when someone comes to buy off their business, sometimes it's not like they would want to push that purpose forward or the vision forward. They probably have their own intentions, you know? Yeah, so when I listened to that, it saddened me a lot, because when someone begins a business, it actually belongs to the African market. So I would want to see it grow under that person, and probably transition it to, say, another generation or even other CEOs, but within the African space.
Right.
I didn't like the fact that most times they end up in other, you know, being run by other bigger players from other countries, you know. So they look like they are giving us the solutions, but actually the ideas emanated from us. So when I saw that, I said, I got angry. And, you know, sometimes we say in purpose, some of the things that get you angry would actually be your areas of purpose.
Right.
You know, the things that get you angry, and sometimes people wonder why you're actually angry, you know? Yeah, so I got very angry and said, why then don't we help these businesses build systems, processes, structures, and of course have clear strategies. So that's what I do for businesses. I help them come up with structures and processes. And having been a chief operating officer, it was clearly my number one job to put up systems, structures, and of course processes in place, and implement strategies. So I develop strategic plans for businesses. And when I talk about a strategic plan, it's a very specific strategic plan for a business, because again, remember I spoke about value addition. I'm very keen on that. So it's not a generic strategic plan we're talking about. Talking about a specific strategic plan for these SMEs.
And bespoke or unique to a certain...
Exactly. Unique to a certain SME. You could be in the same industry. Like now I've happened to work for so many schools and these pharmaceutical space industry and all that. And even having worked for one school, there's no way we're duplicating that strategic plan for the other.
Okay.
So sometimes when clients even ask me, do you have experience in this industry? I say, yeah, we do. But the most important thing is to understand you as a business and what you want to achieve and where you want to go. So we develop strategic plans. And when I talk about these strategic plans, we're talking about looking into people issues. So everything about people, from how businesses even recruit these people, all the way to training them, culture issues, structure issues, everything on people. Then we'll also talk about processes and systems. What do they need to put in place so that then they have clear structures, they have documented processes for continuity and also consistency, and even efficiency. Then we also look into what we call customer perspective, where we're looking at a marketing strategy for these businesses. And finally, financial perspective. Unless it's an NGO, then the other businesses would be interested in profit making and having clear goals for their financial. So we look at those major things. And in the process, we look at, do your people even have the skill to do what you say you do?
Right.
So sometimes we also do trainings for these people so that we equip them with whatever the market needs. So that's what we do for businesses. So we do a lot of coaching, a lot of training, strategy developments. Then from these strategies, we also help them implement the strategies.
Okay.
Because it's one thing to develop a strategic plan, but it's actually another to implement.
Right.
In fact, most of these SMEs in this country and even beyond have strategic plans in place. But whether they're implemented, it's a different
Sustainably
story.
for that matter, yes.
So most of them are in some shelves somewhere. So we help them go through the implementation process, and especially the initial years, just to pick the momentum.
Right.
Then from there, they would run with it. Yes, so that's what I do.
Beautiful. And I know we're about to come out of this space. Success stories, and what do you suppose is one of the biggest mistakes that most of the SMEs do? Because you'd find them crawling for years before they get to that level of corporate.
Okay. Let me start from some of the mistakes some of these SMEs make. Now, there's one thing that I keep talking about, that money follows value.
Okay.
That where value can be demonstrated, money will follow. Now, one of the biggest problems I see with SMEs, they're trying to chase the profit instead of chasing value. Because the minute you deliver value, money will come. Now, most of them are looking at how can I get that paycheck? How can I? That is okay, but can we first talk about value addition? So very few are interested in quality. Most are interested in quantity. And it's one of the things, Linda, I would really want any SME listening to me to consider, that can we be more obsessed with quality over quantity? Because the minute you deliver quality, money will come.
Okay.
Yeah, money is not the problem. I deal with businesses in this country and beyond, and they have the money. Yeah, so the thing is, can you deliver value?
Right.
Now, the other thing, as we talk about value, you can only deliver value if you're actually solving an existing need. So there are certain people who are beginning from developing a product or a service, then pushing it to the market, instead of first looking at what's the need in the market, and how do we come up with a solution to address the need. So those are some of the challenges I see. Among other challenges is what we're talking about, failing to have clear structures and systems and a strategic plan in place. So most of them just run a business in what I would say, okay? I have an idea, I feel this would work, so they just begin. And that's why, Linda, at the end of the day, if an investor or a bigger player comes and says they would want to give you 20 million, you'll take it gladly. Because at the end of the day, after running your business for, say, 5 years, 10 years, you're already exhausted because you're running it without processes, you're running it without structures, you're running it without systems, you're running it without a strategic plan in place. So, in fact, you're very exhausted within 5, 10 years. And you're
not about to run break even at all.
Exactly.
Okay.
So those are some of the mistakes I see a lot. For family businesses, because, again, over 80% of businesses in Africa actually
as we sum it up,
So for family businesses, issues to do with people management. So I find a lot of family in the business who are not able to separate the business from the family. So again, that's a major challenge we see in family businesses, and we do a lot of coaching and training for these family businesses just to help them come up with the right structures and, of course, allow the business to grow, even with the family in it. Yes, so I think those are some of the challenges. Some success stories, we've seen a couple of, like one of the schools I was talking about, who did their strategic plan over a year ago in Naivasha, and it's doing really well. So it's now grown to even junior secondary, and they have beautiful structures, and their strategic plan is running comfortably. And so those are some among others.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Okay. And, you know, I like the fact that as these entities grow, these businesses grow, you grow too. Congratulations on your recent award, on Africa Award of being purpose-led.
Thank you.
I wished we could have talked about purpose and just how you get to maintain that, because it's one thing to realize your purpose.
Yeah.
It's another to ensure that you actually get this leading your life. But let's just say we're going to have you some other time.
Looking forward.
As we have some more on getting to learn about purpose, but importantly, just managing our businesses. Thank you so much. How do they get you quickly?
Thank you, Linda. My email address is wagaki. Wagaki is WAGAKI at ecg.co.ke. Our offices, we're at Mudangari Drive, Pension Plaza. And yes, I think that summarizes our website, ecg.co.ke, on LinkedIn, Anne Waki or Efalj Consulting Group.
Reach out. I mean, it's important that sometimes you seek professional advice.
Yes.
If you really want to transform that business to the next level. The CEO of Efalj Consulting Group, Anne Waki, thank you so much for the great insights and equally for inspiring the girls out there, because then the light is always there for you to join in and shine. It was great having you, and I'm looking forward to have some more sessions as we look forward again to see you on Saturday. My name is Linda Alela. Do have yourself a lovely night. We also appreciate the sign language interpreter, Roda Nyamai, on the other side. Bye-bye.